Pit of Heresy is Destiny 2's newest dungeon. Today I'm going to walk you through the entire thing and reveal some of the secrets within it. With a power level recommendation of 940, this activity should be no problem for a full team to complete, and like with Shattered Throne, the new dungeon is designed for a maximum of 3 players, but also designed in a way that it's able to be beaten solo. And this time, soloing the dungeon, which definitely appears easier than the Shattered Throne, is actually required for the Harbinger title, so if you plan on getting that, you're going to want to get familiar with each encounter. To get access to this activity, you should complete the quest The Deepening from Eris Morn that has you play some of the new Altars of Sorrow activity. Once completed, this grants you access to the dungeon. In the description, I will include links to any of the other secrets found within the dungeon. There's some lore here, which I'll be compiling into a guide with the rest of the patrol lore collectibles very soon, and there's also the 10th ghost here needed for the Lunar Memoriam emblem. Again, you can see that down below. Alright, let's begin with the first encounter of Pit of Heresy. Your objective here is to locate 3 disciples and defeat them with the sword. Defeating all 3 will break the 3 seals, allowing you to progress to the next area. To begin, jump off the cliff in front of the rally flag and head down to any area of the fortress that has a giant symbol floating above it. You'll find a bunch of acolytes and a knight called the Pit Keeper. Defeating the Pit Keeper will open up the doorway, allowing you to walk inside of the nearby room. Inside of every room you enter will be the same 3 seals hanging at the back, each seal showing a unique symbol. This group of 3 seals will be different every run, but they stay the same until you actually leave and restart the activity from the very beginning. Your job here is to locate the room of each symbol and kill the disciple inside. The 3 disciples are always going to be a wizard, a shrieker, and a knight with a shield. If you enter a room that doesn't have one of these disciples in it, you'll just find a sword bearer. Feel free to go ahead and kill that sword bearer though, because the sword they drop is needed to kill any of those 3 disciples. Once you've memorized or written down the 3 seals you need to break, you can head back out and start looking for them. You'll be able to locate the area they're in by spotting the giant symbols floating in the air, and you can confirm if it's the correct place once you get there by looking at the symbol above the doorway. Once you've acquired a sword from one of the roaming sword bearers, you should know that it has 3 unique abilities on top of the normal swing animation. Each ability is used to effectively defeat each of the 3 disciples. For the knight with the shield, you'll need to either swing at him normally or wait until the super bar charges up and use your super while holding the sword to launch a massive wave of energy. This is a much safer strategy than trying to pick away at his health with a light attack, and the sword's energy doesn't drain until you actually use an ability or actively swing it, so you don't have to worry about it disappearing. For the wizard, you'll want to rely on your alternative or heavy attack, which works like the exotic sword Black Talon. Pressing the fire button as opposed to the melee button is going to launch a projectile of energy through the air, which should help you take down the wizard from a safe distance. The super attack is also very effective against the wizard if you can get close enough without dying. As for the Shrieker, you just want to get close enough and then block with the sword while aiming up at the Shrieker to destroy it. Every time you destroy one of these disciples, the corresponding seal will break, and destroying all 3 of them means you're ready to finish the encounter. Next, just find the glowing beam of green light and destroy the Pit Keeper guarding it to get the message the way is open. A few seconds later, the enemies will despawn and you can move on to encounter 2. While making your way to the second encounter, you'll come across a giant wall of doors. In order to not get killed by them, find the opening in the wall to the bottom right and slip through this hole to get to the tunnels. The second encounter is a maze of tunnels in which you need to find heretical knights, kill them and pick up the charges they drop, and dunk 1 charge in each of the 3 doors to open up the next area. The entire time you'll be hunted by giant ogres that are going to track you down if you're spotted. It feels a lot like a spin on the Gorgon's Labyrinth from the Vault of Glass, except with a lot more stomping. To start, just make your way through the tunnels by destroying the covers on them and sliding through. Depending on how confident you are, you can split up and have every player grab their own orb, since there are 3 rooms here which heretical knights can spawn in. While the enemies within these rooms aren't that difficult, don't underestimate their numbers, because one second you'll be facing just the knight, and the next there's going to be 30 thralls swarming you. Defeating a heretical knight drops a void charge, which you must deliver to one of 3 entrances to the next encounter. Depending on where you dunk the charge, the symbol on the corresponding side will break. So if you dunk it in the middle door, the top symbol is going to break. If you dunk it in the rightmost door, the right symbol will break. And if you dunk it in the leftmost door, the left symbol will break. You can tell exactly which side of the encounter you're on and which door you're at by the symbol that disappears when you dunk that void charge. Once all 3 void charges have been inserted and the 3 symbols have disappeared, you've unlocked the next encounter. Now, there is a secret chest during the Tunnels of Despair section. You can find it either at the start of the encounter or by backtracking once you've cleared it. The easiest way to find it for me is just starting from the beginning of the encounter and running down the rightmost pathway. Running down the right pathway, you'll eventually see glowing hive symbols on the wall next to you. Once you see these, you know you're at the right spot. This means you can enter the nearest tunnel to your left. Enter it and take the first right inside. You'll have to jump up onto a pile of rocks and find the hole you need to descend into. If you found it, just keep following the only path you can take until you arrive at the secret chest. This chest can drop a phantasmal core and some of the essence quests as well. I got the essence of greed twice, buddy of mine got the essence of failure. I'm not sure if the pulse rifle essence quest can drop from these, I haven't seen any confirmation yet, but you might as well hit it up just in case. For the third encounter, your objective is to kill more heretical knights to get those void charges again, and dunk 6 of them into the door behind the totem that all of the acolytes are praying to here. All while making sure the totem does not explode by having at least 1 player stay beneath it on the totem plate. If you're running this with 2 or 3 people, you could have 1 person sit here the entire time with the others collecting the charges. Essentially what's happening in this encounter is as time goes on, every player is getting more and more stacks of this debuff called Curse of Suffering. The more stacks of this you have, the more damage you seem to take. So if you're at Curse of Suffering times 6, it's going to be a lot harder to stay alive. In order to reset your own individual debuff, you have to dunk a void charge that drops from one of the heretical knights. There's one knight that spawns on the left side of the room, in the front, and on the right. Strategy-wise, there's 2 main ways you can go about this. The first is to just rotate who's sitting beneath the totem every time you dunk a charge, so that everyone is going out, killing a knight, and then resetting their debuff. The other way you could do this is by having 1 person who permanently stays at the totem, while the other 2 people go out and clear knights, and occasionally drop a charge for the 3rd player to dunk when they need to reset. The biggest threat in this encounter are the 2 boomer knights that spawn on ledges above you. 2 of them, one on the left and one on the right, are going to spawn every single time you dunk an orb, so be ready to take them out quickly. Every time you dunk a charge, it's going to remove a symbol on the door, and removing all 6 symbols will complete the encounter. The 4th encounter is very similar to the first one. Before we begin though, let me quickly show you the secret chest in this area. As soon as you narrowly avoid the spinning death traps after dropping down from the 3rd encounter, you'll see 3 hive symbols in front of you. Immediately take a right and climb up on top of these swinging pillars to find the chest. So back at the starting area, each of these symbols corresponds to a section of this encounter space that houses an elite wizard that you need to defeat. Except this time there's no need for a sword. You just have to run around and find the enemy and kill them normally with your guns. All 3 enemies must be killed to open up the final boss room, and you can check your progress towards that by checking what symbols are left above the exit doorway. This entire encounter space is just one big death trap. You'll have spinning totems, swinging lamps, small ledges, and plenty of dead ends. I would try and draw a map for this encounter, but honestly this place isn't that large and it's pretty easy to find the place you're looking for because you'll see the enemies pop up on the radar when you get close. With only 3 areas you need to visit, it shouldn't take you too long to clear this one. The final encounter is where you get to go head to head with Zulmac, Instrument of Torment. A giant flame dude that has one of the coolest attack animations I've ever seen in Destiny. This fight is fantastic, and the first thing I thought of during this was the Tartarus boss fight from Halo 2. You've got this big center platform raised up from a pit, with a boss that uses a giant melee weapon, and you gotta get up close and take him down. I just love it. The way this encounter plays out is each fortress area on the sides of the main platform will have one of 3 disciples from the first encounter. The Wizard, the Shrieker, and the Knight with a Shield. Just like the first encounter, you will need to kill a sword bearer and take the sword using the abilities that the disciples are weak against. So again, the Wizard can be killed by the projectiles from the heavy attack or the super attack, the Shrieker by blocking, and the Knight by using the super ability or just the normal swing animation. Defeating a disciple drops a void charge, which can be deposited in the nearest hive thingy that's right at the bottom of the stairs. Defeating all 3 disciples and then dunking all 3 void charges begins the damage phase. In order to damage the boss, you're going to have to stand inside of the green aura that's the inner ring of the middle platform. Being inside gives you a buff called Heinous Rite, allowing you to damage Zulmac. Being outside of this aura, however, will give you something called Starless Night, meaning that any damage you try and do on the boss will show up as immune. So you're going to have to get up close and personal for this fight. Sometime during the generously long damage phase, you'll see the text appear that says the crystal surges with dark energy. When you get that message, get out of the aura in the middle. This is because the boss begins doing his wipe mechanic, and if you're inside while this happens, you're going to die. Once Zulmac stands back up, all you have to do is repeat the entire fight over again, killing all 3 disciples, dunking the charges, and standing inside the aura to defeat him. If you can nail all of the charge dunking and the sword slicing, you've got yourself a dungeon completion. As far as loot goes, unless I'm missing something, the only loot that drops from this is an emblem, the moon pulse rifle called Premonition, a ship required for the Lunar rover badge, and a pinnacle reward drop once per week per character, which seems to be a guaranteed fully masterworked piece of Dreambane armor. I can't say I'm not disappointed that another stellar piece of content is missing that much needed loot, but at least it has a pinnacle reward drop which makes it worth running more than the Shattered Throne. Running this 3-man is extremely easy. I was guessing this activity would be around 950 to 960, but 940 was a little surprising. I may be in the minority here, but I would really love to see some sort of optional contest mode or a 980 hard mode so that I could farm this for endgame materials like enhancement prisms or ascendant shards or even exotics. It's hard not to enjoy this dungeon, but I just wish I had more reasons to run it again. That's just my 2 cents though. This activity is still an incredible experience regardless of loot. The encounter spaces are just wow. And I'm looking forward to running it again, to making a solo guide and of course a flawless guide, so lots more videos coming on this one in the near future. Thank you very much for watching.